You are all welcome in this session, and إنني ألتمس في خدمة الدكتور سيد أقيل حسين المنور أن يتفضل إلى المنصة ويجلس على مقامه الخاص. الدكتور سيد أقيل حسين المنور، فإنه الضيف الخصوصي لهذه الحفلة، فليتفضل مشكورا على كرسيه الخاص على مقامه الخاص. Former Minister of Religious Affairs Indonesia, Mr. Syed Aqil Hussein Al-Manawwar, is our chief guest of this session. Now I would like to invite Mr. Shamlal for the recitation of Githri Mantar. Mr. Shamlal.
पार ब्रह्म परमात्मा घट घट पूर्ण राम घट सुमरन प्रगट भयो ओम सती का नाम श्री सदगुरु अरदास हमारी सुरमुख लीजो भेंट मुरारी मात पिता सब तुम रखवारे हम बालक सब दीन तुम्हारे प्राण पनी सब तुमरे हाथ शरणागत पद राखो नाथ रसना को शीतल प्रसाद हरे सुख के कोट अपराध दो कर जोर करो अरदास पूरी कर हमारे आज सब गुरुओं में आज का है 3 लोग बिन मंगल गाए 4 वर्ण में घर घर पूजा राम नाम भी देवा तुझा संत भगत के कारज सारे उम्मीद जाप सारे कर कृपा दियो शामी बाल में गुरंतयामी ओम भूर्भवे सवे तत्सवितुर वर्णियं भर्गो धीमहि धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। बोलो ब्रह्म वाल्मीकि भगवान की जय। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। जय माता दी।
I request to Dr. E.N. Denness, who is consultant in missionary medical service.
So I'm grateful to our wonderful Almighty God that I have this opportunity to be with you tonight. So the topic is, and I hope you can cope with my English, and if not, I'm sorry, I don't think I can do tarjuma and at the same time, so I hope you can cope with this. The topic is the role of the media in protecting the rights of minority Muslims and non-Muslims and its significance. So key words are very important to us. We've heard different words in English and in Urdu today, and these key words are very important to us. The things we've heard about have been things like interfaith dialogue, protection of the right to follow one's faith, acceptance of each other's right to practice their religion, harmony between faiths, awareness, mutual respect. These are very nice English words to express what we're trying to say about this whole thing of interfaith dialogue. Understanding and tolerance, global peace. It even got to that height of global peace. And as well as that, we heard about the individual situation with reconciliation and acting upon these things ourselves. Sustainable collaboration, breaking down walls of division and barriers. I guess I could sum them up just with one short saying in English, which is live and let live. I don't know if you know that, but live and let live. And the role of the media. So as we think about the role of the media, we can imagine the media listening in. Someone made the comment in the vehicle as we came here tonight that there doesn't seem to be anyone from the media here. But if something went wrong, then the media would be here. But nothing has gone wrong, so the media isn't here. But if they were here, how factually would they report on this gathering? And would they do a competent job of doing that reporting? Well, on the smaller scale, and because we are small people generally, we are individuals. We represent some small organizations, maybe bigger organizations, but generally we are small. And on the smaller scale, Interfaith dialogue happens when there is a conversation between two or more people or parties of different faiths. And they seek to politely and tolerantly express their views honestly. They then in turn listen respectfully to their counterparts. I have to say that personally, during my time in Pakistan, this is something that I have really enjoyed. And I'm very thankful for all of those who have listened to me politely, listened to my questions politely, and have given answers politely, and also who have listened to my answers as they have asked me questions. I must say I've especially enjoyed doing that with imams and with muftis. I'm passionate about my faith and about my hope of everlasting life, and they too are passionate about their faith. And that's why it's been so nice to talk with imams and muftis. We don't have to talk about the weather, we don't have to talk about the politics, we can just talk about the faith and the practical outliving of that faith. And that's what I've really enjoyed. Well, that's personal. But what about the big picture of the media and its reporting and interpreting of the faiths of the people in these communities here? We know that their role is enormous. We know that a lot of money is spent by the media, and a lot of money is spent by the public on the media. They are the means of communication. They are the sound waves. And they are the big facilitators of the spread of news and comment. The media, it has a vital role in reporting on faiths and differences between the faiths. We would all agree that that is the owners of the media. When we talk about the media, who is the media? What is the media? Well, the media is actually the owners of the media moguls. It's also the editors who are under those moguls, but it's especially the journalists who are on the streets. And they should treat all faiths, we believe, equally and without favour. We would like them to be fair, honest, without religious discrimination, and to adopt the attitude epitomized in what Jesus said in the Injil when he said, "Do to others as you would have them do to you." For this sums up the law and the prophets. However, such an attitude, realistically, mostly goes against what really does happen. One of the reasons for this is given by a friend of mine back in Australia, Mark Jury, who talks about widespread religious illiteracy amongst the media personnel. He states that generally speaking, this spiritual or religious illiteracy is there because journalists don't understand spiritual things and they don't understand religion. Maybe their own religion they understand to some extent, if they have one, talking about Westerners. But generally they show from their reporting that they don't grasp the basic beliefs of other religions. And I call that spiritual religious illiteracy. For this reason they are poor at understanding the passions of other religions, and also in reporting on religious persecution in our communities. Therefore, I believe that a great need in our time is to increase religious literacy amongst the journalists. This training that I'm talking about, how to increase religious literacy amongst journalists, I think it should have 3 components to it. The first one is there should be training about the original textbooks of the various faiths. What I'm talking about is training for journalists in the Quran Sharif, in the Holy Bible, and the other books that we have as our textbook, our original source of our faith. And the second thing is, there should be training about the founder of our faith. For example, for me as a Christian since I was 15 years of age, the Lord Jesus Christ. And for Muslims, it of course would be Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And only then should there be the training concerning how the followers of that faith should be living their lives in the light of their esteemed book and their founder. Then religious news and events attracting media interest could be more intelligently commented on and compared on the basis of these three very important parameters. First of all, the book. Secondly, the founder. And thirdly, the way the followers should live their lives. So this means that, practically speaking, Qurans and Gospels, Bibles, should be available for scrutiny and study in the community, so that stereotypes can be corrected and informed discussion can take place. The journalists should especially study their own religious book, as well as that of others. For example, and here I'll be talking about Western journalists and then the Pakistani situation, as far as I know it. You probably know these things better than I do. For example, in the West, how many secular media personnel who report on Muslim events around the world have actually ever read the Quran Sharif? How many would have ever even read the Gospel, the New Testament section of the Bible? Also, how many media personnel in Pakistan have ever read the Gospel? Usually they do their reporting with only very second or third-hand knowledge of the original textbook of the people they are reporting on. From my own experience, I've been constantly surprised to find that in Pakistan, most of the people that I've spoken to who are not from the Christian small minority of about 2% of the population, they think that Christians worship these three gods: God, Jesus, and Mary. And most people think that Christians believe that God married Mary and they had a son called Jesus. I don't know whether you understood that, but you see, that's not what Christians believe at all. And whether it's in a mosque or in a madrasa or anywhere on the street, I found that most people, and the journalists as well, most people think that that is what Christians believe. But you see, the problem is that in claiming this sort of a thing, this misunderstanding, this does not engender good feelings between the two religions at all, because it's based upon an ongoing false rumor rather than on the original text, the Bible. This is an example of how misconceptions can lead to passionate rejection of a religious group because of a lack of knowledge of the religion, but especially of the original book. In this case, I'm talking about the Holy Bible. And this situation can be multiplied in the West, where Western reporters who have never read the Quran Sharif will be reporting on what has happened in Paris or what has happened in some other place. And yet they are without knowledge about that religion, and they are without knowledge about the founder of that religion, and they are without knowledge especially of the textbook of that religion, which in this case is the Quran Sharif. So they are seeing things and reporting things from their own background, which is spiritually corrupt, which is spiritually illiterate. And yet they are famous journalists who are doing this. It seems that no one has said, please, take 6 months off and go and study the book of that religion about which you are making very serious comments about. And then write your journalism. And then write your article. And then come in front of the camera and report on it. Well, what about the Western media? Pakistani media personnel would certainly think that the West, and therefore its media people, are mostly Christian. Here we have another one of these incredible misconceptions, not based on fact. However, the West these days is post-Christian. It is called postmodern in philosophical terms, where many people do not hold that there is absolute truth anymore at all. They think that truth is relative, and whatever each individual wants truth to be, that is what truth is. And this is a big change to even only 50 years ago, when I was a student at school, where at that time absolute truth was held to be much more vigorously upheld. As well as that, many Western media personnel are left-wing politically, and they're socialist in their political outlook. And as far as spirituality is concerned, they seem to be against practically all religions, not just your religion against my religion, not just against my religion, but against the other religions as well. There is therefore a great difference between the Western and the Pakistani media as far as this is concerned. Well, what about the media's role in protecting the rights of minority Muslims and non-Muslims? This was the topic that was given to me, the part of it that I want to focus on now. Well, as far as minority Muslims go in Pakistan, they're represented by such groups as the Shias, by far the greatest percentage, and then also Agha Khanis, Ismailis, the Ahmadiyas, Zikris, and some of you will know of many other groups that are in Pakistan. But that exhausts the things I know anyway, as far as they go. The right to practice their form of Islam is often greatly challenged in Pakistan, especially with regard to the Shias. My wife and I have spent about 20 years in the province of Baluchistan, 10 years, 11 years elsewhere in Pakistan, but about 20 years in Baluchistan. And many times my heart has gone out to the Hazara people who came from Afghanistan, central Afghanistan, many years ago, but also more recently. And they live in Quetta. Because they are Shias, over the last decade, more than 2,000 of them, I believe, have been killed by terrorist networks and actions. We know that the Quaid-e-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, founded Pakistan as a place where the minorities, those who were non-Muslims, would be guaranteed their rights. Because of this, the white section of the Pakistan flag represents the minorities. I have to say, the majority has been very generous, because the majority, I understand, is 97%, but on the flag it looks like about 66% is for the majority, and about 33% is for the minority, who only make up 3%. So, you know, you have very generously given the minority that white section of the flag. And that represents them. These minorities made up of Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Parsi, and others, pray for the good of their country here and for God's blessing to be upon it. Pakistan was made so that there would be unity in diversity, allowing people to keep their own faith without the compulsion to change. From what I've observed and what I've heard, the Christian community, the minority Christian community, seems satisfied with the coverage that the private media does give them. They feel that their causes will be presented in a reasonably fair way. Even if in the community there is religious discrimination against them, which they do keenly feel, the media at least will to some extent take it up for them. You may have heard about the case of Asia Bibi, a poor woman, a wife and a mother from the Christian community. A number of years ago, she was accused under the blasphemy law, and she was condemned to death. When somehow this news got out to the rest of the world, the reaction of the Western media was initially bewilderment, because the Western media doesn't understand spiritual things. But then they condemned the system that would allow such a cruelty, and they did take it up for her to the extent that this media pressure that was brought to bear on the case was changed. Her sentence was changed to imprisonment, and which is still continuing to this day. There's an organization called worldwatchlist.org, and that reports that Pakistan is the 8th most persecuting country of Christians, behind North Korea, Somalia, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Sudan, and Iran. Nowadays, at the international level, it is estimated that up to 4 out of 5 acts of religious discrimination are directed against Christians. However, to put it into its context in Pakistan, which is what I want to do, it isn't easy for the media in Pakistan to call attention to such religious persecution. Amnesty International, which you may have heard about, last year reported on this difficulty for the Pakistani media in these words. It said, Pakistan, journalists under siege from threats, violence, and killings. Pakistan's media community is effectively under siege. Journalists, in particular, those covering human rights especially, are targeted from all sides in a disturbing pattern of abuses carried out to silence their reporting. The constant threat puts journalists in an impossible position, where virtually any sensitive story leaves them at risk of violence from one side or the other. Well, as a result of this fear, and we don't have journalists here tonight to ask, what do you think about this? Is this correct? Is this incorrect? But as a result of this fear, earlier this year, a report came out that the Pakistani media was giving the lowest coverage to human rights and social justice. It stated that the electronic and print media is giving low coverage to human rights and social issues, while politics is given the highest coverage. This report was called Ethical Dimensions of Media Content in Pakistan, released by the Pakistan Press Foundation. The data showed that the highest news channel coverage was on politics, about 30%. So when we watched the news and the reporting on the news, about 30% on politics. And about 21% on governance, how the government is doing with carrying out its work. While vital issues of human rights and social justice, which is what we're talking about tonight, were deprived of due coverage, only getting around 1.5%, 1.5% of the coverage. So we see that it isn't easy for the media here to safely take up the pen or the camera for the sake of the persecuted minorities. However, all the same, we would agree that they should keep trying to do so, and we heartily admire those brave journalists who attempt to make Pakistan a better place for the religious minorities to live. And we salute them because some of them do it to their own detriment. Well, lastly, the significance of the role of the media. And to sum up, the role of the media is really very significant. We actually depend upon the media to report what is happening out there. But when we are involved ourselves, be it persecution, or be it something useful that is being done, like this conference that you have put on, then where is the media? We depend on the media to report the good and the bad. As I've tried to explain, it could be enhanced even more by a greater understanding of the spiritual and religious aspect of our lives. Media personnel would do well to study their own religious book, but also, and even more importantly in many ways, that of the other religions about which they not only report about in the electronic or print media, but also inherently react against. Because every one of us reacts positively or negatively to things that are around us. Those things which are from us, our own culture, our own religion, we don't react against that. But those things which are different to our culture, and when it's a religion which is different to ours, we inherently react against it. And of course, that's what journalists do. If they would study the books, not only their own, but the books of the people that they are reporting about or reporting against, and if they would study the founder of that religion, and as well as that, they would then study the people who carry out that religion, then they would be in a much better position to be more fair in their reporting. At the same time, those media people who seek to defend the rights of unjustly oppressed and persecuted religious minorities, they should be protected. And they should also be congratulated, shabash, by the authorities as well as by the public. There should also be the right to choose one's faith and to practice it without persecution. Overall, through all of the media's reporting of religious events and matters, there should be the great inspirational aim of presenting truth. That is, what is true, from first to last, because the day of judgment is approaching, and each person will be brought to account before the holy God of the universe. At that time, it's not just going to be opinions or changeable political correctness that will be revealed, but the truth, and only the truth, will be revealed. As I said before, it could be summed up from our perspective and from the perspective of the media: live and let live. And if we carried that out, and if the media carried that out, then I think Pakistan and the world would be a very different place. Live and let live. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Denness. Now I request Mr. Khalid Ikramullah Khan, by Special Advisor, the Secretary General ACRP. और इनका जो टॉपिक है उसका उन्वान मैं उर्दू में, जो मेरे दोस्त बैठे हुए हैं उनको मैं बताता चलूँ, बड़ा अहम किस्म का इनका उन्वान है कि सकाफ़त और कल्चर की यकजहती को मीडिया के ज़रिए कैसे प्रमोट किया जा सकता है। जो कल्चर और सकाफ़त की यलगार है, हम मीडिया से उससे किस तरह फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलामु अलैकुम, greetings of peace to all brothers and sisters. The organizers of the International Interfaith Conference at Islamabad has honored me, Khalid Ikramullah Khan, a humble activist for interfaith harmony and peace, and I'm grateful that Unite has asked me to present a paper entitled Promoting Cultural Integration Through Media and its Implication at its session on Interfaith Peaceful Coexistence. Initially, I as a Muslim is guided by the enlightened word of Holy Quran in Namumnul Akhwa, translating into, verily all believers are brethren. Kindly note, the word is believers, not just Muslim, which indicates all spiritual oriented people. This commandment is by the Allah Ta'ala, the Divine Creator. The world today, the present world today is in a dilemma of crisis, confusion, biases and disunity not known before. Is it not funny that the modern advanced scientific knowledge which has been used, such as for mad ways for weapons of destruction, will ultimately destroy the earth, whereas peace is a blissful, creative, conscious human action with interrelated dimension. Latest nuclear bomb, known as neutron bombs, will kill only human beings, but leave the infrastructure intact. Intact for whom? The ghost. Culture of different religions, spiritual orders or people may differ, but, and a big but, all tend to a key factor, that is to create a better, harmonious life, safety and also peace. People like to point out our differences among religious people and justify their behaviors to criticize us. Do keep in mind, when we point, even the believers or religious people pointing to each other, when we point our one finger to others, the three of our own fingers are pointing back to us. Unfortunately, the modern civilized world methodology to resolve differences tend to be more violent, martial, militancy, and war. This methodology shed blood and spread hatred, but cannot conquer a single heart. We all have our own culture. We need not amalgamate our belief, culture, and heritage into someone else. All religions advocate peace. Religion should solve the problem and not be a problem itself. The question arises, can there be a cultural integration? I say, why not? Do regard the festivals of all religions, culture and mindset are for spiritual blessing, good fellowship and joy. If it is not so, then it is a deviant action. All our cultural festival of all religions have religious norms. When a river flows, it also contains debris and rubbish, which we avoid. From a rice or wheat field, we pick up what is edible, likewise only fruit and not the leaves. Thus we all enjoy these natural bounties. So we should search for the positive aspect, not the negative aspect. I am associated with the Asian Conference of Religion for Peace based at Tokyo, which was founded by late Most High Reverend Nikio Niwano, the founder of Visho Koshikai, the global Buddhist body. Another important interfaith leader was late Dr. Inamullah Khan, who motivated the global Muslim to forge cooperation, also work together with all religious groups for global peace nearly 30 years ago. The joint efforts of these above two noble persons, along with other well-wishers, led to mobility, interfaith communication, and working together jointly. At the same time, I also acknowledge that radical militancy among various religionists have led to culture of hate and terrorism globally, especially the Muslim militancy, which is using the cover or the cloak of religion. This is an indirect attack on religion. It's not a correct approach. At the same time, when we want to have a global vision, we should not forget our youth. Herein it is important that our youth are correctly guided so as to play invaluable part. As Dr. Ayan has pointed out, these youth may become journalists tomorrow. If they're not correctly guided, the situation which is presented is coming about. In every country, religion and culture, the youth are to outnumber the old. They are outgrowing us. We cannot be indifferent to the young one and keep youth in isolation. Insidious campaign among the youth is that spirituality, religious group are outdated, lost in past with no forward outlook. This is not so correct. I, as a Muslim state, that interestingly the first commandment from Allah Ta'ala, the divine creator, is Ikra, that is read, meaning gain knowledge, learning and wisdom. This led to scientific advancement of the Muslim world, which ultimately led to European Renaissance. What is the culture of religion? Its basic aim is to cultivate the mindset for development of human potential. Nowadays, unwanted emergence of radical militant cults among us Muslims, along with inbuilt biases and prejudices among other religionists, the Muslim world and its Muslim culture especially gets a lopsided negative image. May I come to the aspect of media? Media today is not just print media, which was in the past. In the past, the print media was to inform basically and books to convey authors' views and stories. Now, the modern mass media system also analyzes, gives its own opinion. Thus, nowadays, media is not just information dissemination, but it also creates public opinion and outlook. At the same time, it has become more materialistic, profit-making ventures and greed-oriented. This is going on because commercial greed phobias among the media are prevalent with no hesitation. Spiritual morality, concern for humanity thrown into the sea. Cultural integration in media. Herein, the spiritually oriented people of all religions, of all culture, should show the correct moral part to these commercial-minded modern media. Everyone knows that modern mass media system is a powerful instrument for molding public opinion, leading the way to influence not only government outlook, but also people's mindset and cultural orientation. We all must come together to harness ourselves positively with respect and tolerance to each other, so as I become we and us. We are not strangers, not I, but we are us. The present variety of mass media system should be motivated and influenced to promote continuously a just, humane culture, interfaith concept, compassion and tolerance, thereby leading to goodwill, understanding and global peace, which we are not doing it. As rightly pointed out just now, we are keeping the media in dark, and that is the reason we are not educating them. Instead of building wall of hatred, we should erect the culture of peace through the mass media. Media, with our efforts, media should strive to build a global culture of one family of mankind, one responsibility, one destiny of survival of all species on our earth. This paradigm be firstly inculcated among us, then promoted in mass media system to be finally accepted and adopted by all the governments of the world. There is a need to consolidate multicultural peace order through the media. Even though the mass media is motivated to improve its popularity rating, to enhance advertisement profits and global recognition, but it is managed by human beings, not robots, not machines, but human beings. So we can work together to change and bring about a needed change. present mass media do have some humane and educative agendas needs to influence them to enhance and show on human and spiritual aspect of all cultures. Myself as a Pakistani, I am happy that our Prime Minister, Honorable Mr. Mihai Nawaz Sharif, is the first Prime Minister who has joined the Hindu community of Pakistan in celebration of Hindu festival of Diwali on 11th November. Also, our two major opposition parties leaders also felicitates the Hindu community. During these events of ICC, the Sikh community from all over the world, especially from India, are now in Pakistan for 10 days pilgrimage to commemorate the 547th birth anniversary of Baba Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikh religion, as his shrine temple is in Pakistan. Mass media can be persuaded to become more responsible to promote cultural integration and tolerance, as well as respect and recognition of all cultural festivals of all religion and people. We all belonging to various religion, culture, traditions, organizations, and countries are attending this ICC event organized by the Unite. Herein, I would suggest to all of us to consider, I request we need to set up a global working commission, working continuously, and not just be a speaker corner, just to come and talk and go, and it should not be there. This working commission should have due identification of basic principles common to all religion and culture. The working commission with spiritual expertise, knowledge about conflict zones and hate culture, intolerance and distress of others' religion, as well as free interaction with the people, with the local people, must extend its helping hand to tackle issues and problems. Now, because especially of this present subversive action by radicals and militant extremists, cloaking themselves with religion cover, this is very important that we move forward. In fact, these militant radicals have their misguided concept of religion. The working commission must build cooperation and linkage between secularist-oriented key person in the field of mass media, as just pointed out, commerce and politics, with the spiritually oriented key person, maybe religious scholars, leaders, laymen, social activists, and business entrepreneurs. No matter how admirable, beautiful, challenging, enlightening, energizing appeals and statements made by religious leaders, wise person, and cultural activists, these appeals will remain non-functional if secular leaders and key persons do not listen. This is why we need to think and act jointly and act jointly to make critical linkage and sustainable movement for peace and coexistence a reality. I believe that religion and culture must be a solution to problems and not be a problem itself. Multicultural intolerance, interreligious religion crisis and misunderstanding could be solved with a new, constant, pragmatic paradigm of interfaith dialogues, intercultural events. Don't tell me I've lost my page. Okay. Should create this better atmosphere, better climate of peace and cultural interaction. Herein, I am sure that all of us coming here for this event by the Unite will think together and not only just speak and go away, think together to work jointly, thresh out our problems, our indifferences, our disorientation with each other. Why? If it is possible, we will have a better world tomorrow. Thank you very much. Wassalam.
Hi everyone, beautiful night with honorably beautiful people here and gather for whole cause, peace, solidarity, unity for all the world. I would like to request now take the comments on which speeches has delivered here. Speech, yeah. So now I would like to request a beautiful person, rationalistic person, a presentation by senior journalist Pokharel Krishna Prasad on the topic of the role of social media in creating a peaceful lifestyle.
Honorable Chairman, respected PIPs, my fellow companions and everybody present here in this premises. An invitation from Universal Nexus for Interfaith Trust and Engagement Unite bring me here today. I, Krishna Pokharel, am standing in front of you all to convey some words on this international conference, a quest for peaceful interfaith coexistence. First of all, I would like to heartily thanks to Mr. Mufti Abu Huraira, Chairman of Unite and his team, for giving me such a golden opportunity to express my view in front of you all. It is indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to speak few words on the role of social media creating a peaceful social life amid the presence of experts and scholars. I again thank you, all the organizers and hosts, for organizing this timely event and providing me to participate. This is such a huge honor for me and my country, Nepal. The journey of mankind towards a civilized society and peaceful social life started since prehistoric time. It has been 4 million years since the first human being appeared on the earth. Since then, humans have never looked back and have only strived for development in multiple aspects. I feel delighted that we were holding these events in Pakistan, the land where the great civilization Harappa and Mohenjo-daro once flourished. Increasing human curiosity in the field of science has led to the advent of technical creation such as locomotives, audiovisuals, telecommunication, etc. The invention of the internet, and in particular the development of the computer technology, is one of the most notable developments in human history. This has led to the creation of an environment conducive to social media. In the context, science has been a way of life invented and evolved by the mankind. Science has made traditional beliefs and styles easy and simple, which improving every aspect of society such as health, education, communication, security, and well-being. It is through science that humans become able to rule the world and enjoy the beauty and wealth of nature. One amazing creation of science and human innovation is, of course, the social media. In the contemporary society, social media has emerged as one of the most powerful forces for social change, which has transformed the means of communications. Handwritten letters or telephone call used to be in vogue until the 20th century, but they are failing to find a place in the modern society, which is increasingly dominated by faster, more efficient, and reliable means of communication like email, fax, and social networking sites. Social media has brought both advantage and disadvantage to the contemporary society. The degree of its harms and benefits of the creation of a peaceful society depend on the purpose of the people who use it and their intent to apply the laws of science in an ethical and just manner. The number of people using social networking site in the rise as social media continues to occupy the largest piece of the cake in the field of communication. Social networking site has become the dominant force of conveying individuals' opinion to wider society. Oftentimes, people use social networking site for the greater good of society. An instance that validates this claim would be the global response to the recent Nepal earthquake. Government and friendly people from around the world, including Pakistan, dispatched the rescue team to help us in the dire situation. People who were willing to help but could not be physically present themselves for the rescue efforts did that through donation online. This is an area in which social media stand out. Social media has proven itself for being a peaceful and cost-effective alternative to violent protest and demonstration to bring about social change. To cite another example from Nepal, the recent transit blockade being experienced in Nepal by India has received significant attention in wider society, pressing the parties involved into avert humanitarian crisis. One the tools that helped spread the message that was social media. This unjust and unfair from a friendly neighbor to another friendly neighbor was strongly criticized by people around the world. The Indian government is still being put under pressure to lift the economic blockade. Social networking sites provide platforms for people to communicate with others. They can share photos, videos, ideas with family, friends, and interested people they do not know. Social networking sites may have made things too easy for people. From a computer, one can meet new people or watch something new. People can make new connections, settle business deals, and complete academic courses or share ideas for harmonious society without the need to leave home. Internet has made possible that concept of global village where we can communicate our beliefs, emotions, and thoughts to other people. At broader political spectrum, through the extensive network and institution that is for schools, universities, hospitals, social service centers, and worldwide membership, millions of people at local, regional, and global level can engage in interaction and exchange of ideas. They can have a major influence on political, economic, and policy developments. Nothing, however, comes without a cost. On the flip side of this numerous benefit we have enjoyed from social media, it is not always that social media is used to benefit an entire society. There are many examples in which social networking sites have been used for diabolic acts for the advantage of ill-intentioned people. A striking example would be that of terrorist groups who recruit innocent people in their organization by indoctrinating them online. The recent killing of more than 100 innocent people in France is a glaring case about how social media sites can be used for organizing criminal attacks. People, especially teens, are more prone to cyber crimes. While there is incalculable loss in the social contacts and interaction, there is the possibility of isolation among those who are not within this realm. Therefore, in one way or another, the internet-based social media has made us feel more connected while tearing us apart at the same time. Social media platforms are becoming misfortunes since they are more being used against the human society than for good causes. It is high time that we thought and acted upon it. We should use the creation of science for the peace and welfare of our loves in the future. Governments, civil societies, and general public need to inculcate right judgment in find a balance in using social media so that the existing social fabrics and real life relationships are not affected. In the Hindu philosophy, there is a teaching, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, meaning let every be happy and peaceful. I believe this teaching be practiced by the people and society, although a section of the society is bent on dividing the society in the name of caste, religion, and community. There are united voice and efforts for peace and harmony in the world. The peace of such development must be kept intact, despite Internet's possibility to be used for creating misunderstanding. We must stand together to raise awareness for its peaceful and balanced use. The power of social media cannot be belittled for the vulnerability it involves. It is upon us to create an atmosphere for utilizing social media in the good cause of larger society. Thank you. Jai Nepal.
A man cannot escape from religion, and the religion cannot leave alone a man in the world. So now I want to like to take a comments on this speech as given. Comments by the faculty member, Philosophy and Science, Al-Quza University, Lassi, Romania, Professor Dr. Chitoiu Manhi Don.
I am very enriched by the spirit of this meeting, and of course there are very, very difficult and very serious issues today, and I think this panel is very important because now we have a very different situation worldwide compared with 5 or 10 years ago. And the role of media is much more important now. But also the issues created by media can be very dangerous. So we have to deal with a new situation. Maybe today compared with 20 days ago, and this year compared with last year. So we have to adapt and to find solutions. And here could be a very good chance to start to think about what we should do. I think, anyway, media is a key aspect in promoting and sustaining any kind of interfaith coexistence. And this is because of its impact. The impact is increasing now, and this in the context with a very fast changing and evolving world. And this fast changing, I think, is the result of maybe several aspects. I'll name 4 of them. New technologies. We can see that every year we have a new kind of impact from a different way of interaction with technologies. And you know, these smartphones already changed our minds. This is a fact. They realized that our interaction with this kind of screens and with touching screens changed our perception of the world. This is very important. So because it's our interface, the screen is our interface with the world. This is something very new, 3 or 4 years. So we have to deal with something very different. But we have new technologies and we have migration. People using new technologies migrate, and they want to do something more. when they migrate, they want to keep their tradition. And this is the third aspect. A new community in a new place has to find its identity through promoting, through conserving its tradition. And these three aspects are not at all, they don't get a proper approach from the media. But the problem is, it's a little complicated because we have two kinds of media. So what is called broadcasting, it's a kind of media where we have what? We have several news agencies, 4 or 5 important. And they want to give us a kind of simple message. And this simple message is rather a cliche. It's rather a kind of standardized message. So we can get every time almost the same kind of message, and this is a big problem. So also social media had, surprisingly, this kind of tendency because of viral posting. When a post gets viral, it's a suspicion. Somebody tried to do this. It's a kind of ideology behind these viral posts. And they try usually to push in a way. So in the both situation, we have a kind of cliche. And this cliche tends to be the interface with reality for the young people, for the young generation, and this is very dangerous. And you can see this because the people are not dressing in the same way. Everything is a symbol, and if you dress in a way, it's a practice behind, or a special attitude in your community. And this for me, as coming from another world, is very interesting. I learned a lot. So, what is the real life of a specific community in Islam? I don't know. Why? Because media don't tell me nothing about this. And this is a problem. We, from Europe, we cannot understand your very complex world. And this is a problem. So what I want to learn is not something from books, but something from you, from your experience now, from your generation, from how your generation deals with these aspects. This is very important. And I think this is the only way to gather empathy with the other community. We need to find empathy, to develop an empathic attitude. But if we don't see your real life, if we don't get a clue of how you're living, how you are really living, it's very difficult. So media rather has a very bad effect in this case. Maybe because they try to do a very simple message about just some happenings and so on, but it's not enough. So another problem is this kind of information tends to lower our critical attitude and how we can compensate. And this is, I think, this is the real problem. I think it is very, very, very difficult. But at least we have to have two aspects. One, how we get a genuine information coming from the followers of a spiritual practice. I want to understand somebody who can express his practice, and this is not easy because he can he should express, not just to practice. But second, it is difficult to make accessible this kind of information, and this is the second level. We can call it hermeneutics or interpretation. So we need a new kind of hermeneutics about this kind of genuine information, real information about what is practical spiritual experience. For this reason, I think we need some working groups doing this, and the result can be a new pattern in media. But this should be the result of, I don't know, a very strong effort to understand the other. Thank you.
Now I would like to approach second person, and next person, sorry, comments by the board member Salt Lake Interfaith Roundtable, Mr. Breen Lucan-Fur. Please give me your views in front of us.
I'd like to begin just by thanking the excellent presenters that we've listened to this evening. They've provided us with some great insights, some inspiration, and some challenges. I think the question for each one of us is what difference does it make? What can we do with the information that we've been presented with tonight? As I have been involved in the interfaith community, I think two of the great obstacles for building interfaith cooperation and harmony are arrogance and ignorance. I call them the twin evils, arrogance and ignorance. When we don't know about the other, when we don't know the good that they embrace, it's easy for us to be more arrogant. And that arrogance then can feed off of the ignorance again. The answer to all of those, to dealing with those two, is tied up in education. It's tied up in coming to know the other. It's and the media that we've talked about tonight presents both challenges and opportunities for that education. Dr. Khan suggested that we should have a global working commission. I have felt the same, and I fully support that wonderful suggestion. But I think it's also important to have those same kinds of commissions in communities, local communities. Our Interfaith Roundtable in Salt Lake came into being as a subcommittee of the Olympic Committee. In 2002, the Olympic Winter Games were held in Salt Lake. The International Olympic Committee requires the host city to provide religious support and services for athletes. So a committee was set up to do that. And by the end of the Olympic Games, everyone was enjoying the association so much that we set up a nonprofit corporation and have continued. Dr. Khan's comments about the need to become intercultural, to understand the cultures of the other, to participate in their celebrations. That's one of the things that has naturally emerged from this association. Every year we have a month we designate as Interfaith Month. We have open houses at the synagogues and mosques and all of the houses of worship and invite people to come and learn about the other, come and sit with them, come and eat with them. Our big culminating event is an evening where we get together and share spiritual music, dance, thought, prayers. It usually starts with the shofar, followed by an imam with a call to prayer and some kind of a Christian chant, and we have indigenous peoples that add to that. And then we just share a rich evening. We originally moved that from worship place to worship place, but it got too big. And so we now hold it in a building that we call the Tabernacle, that's one of the iconic special buildings of the majority culture in Salt Lake City, the Mormon culture. And one of the interesting things that we found that I was surprised, unexpected, but as you think about it, it's natural. As people from all faiths were invited into that space, and then were given time where the building was theirs, and it was their chance to present to the community. There was something almost therapeutic about it that made them feel part of the community by having the majority in religion invite them to come and together let's share. So that's a wonderful thing. And so the idea of these working commissions, there needs to be the Grand Global Commission that Dr. Khan talks about. But there also need to be more local commissions that do that same kind of thing. I think about some of the media challenges that Ian presented to us, and his challenge that these people need to be more educated. And we can't just walk away and say, well, yeah, they do. I mean, it's up to us to help make that happen, and we start considering how we can do that. And I think Ian suggested meeting with editorial boards and educating the local media. We've had some success with doing that, and we have some reporters that have actually gone out and tried to get to know the communities. One of the things that was helpful in that is just after the tragic events of 9/11, there were people in our community that were concerned about backlash against the Muslims, that thought that people would treat them unfairly. And one example was an artist whose name is Andrew Kosorov, and he started thinking that somebody needs to understand this better, and then it hit him that he was that someone, that he first needed to educate himself and then go out and educate the community. He's a Christian. He went and found out about Islam. He was particularly touched by the 99 names, and he started an incredible art project where he does glass sculptures using techniques that would be comfortable to ancient Muslim practice, and has created these. I think he's up to about 40 now of the 99 names, but he's doing one glass sculpture on each of the 99 names, and he shows them in the community, and it helps people to understand Islam better. So it starts at home. It starts with each one of us getting to know the other better. When you talk about media and media being able to use that, we need to not only educate the media, but we need to figure out how we use them better. And I just had a great thought that slipped my mind. It's one of the incidents of age. But the impact of social media it goes without saying, and you see these forms of media being used for good and for evil, just like so many other things in life. And it's our challenge to try to use our influence to see that they're used for good. You know that ISIL has been pretty effective in using social media for recruiting. And it's really a battle for the hearts and minds of people, and we need to be actively engaged in that battle. There's an incident that I believe to be a true incident that happened in England, and we probably have some folks here that could tell, but there was a county fair, and there was an ox, a dead ox that was on display, and they had a contest to see who could guess the weight of this dead ox. And so 1,000 people, I think, guessed the weight of this ox. And some of the people guessed wildly high, and some guessed wildly low. And there were guesses everywhere in between. But one of the things that was interesting was that they took all of the guesses and totaled them up, and then divided by the number of people that had been making guesses. And they came within 1 pound of the weight of the ox. And the suggestion was the wisdom of the mass, that none of us have all wisdom. None of us begin to approach the wisdom of God. None of us begin to comprehend all that God comprehends. One of the great teachings of the Quran that is inspiring to me is the teaching about God creating us in tribes. Why? So we could come to know each other and to recognize each other. And so it's how we enrich each other as we work together, recognizing that we each have been given some understanding. And there's probably, is there anyone in the room that would say they completely understand their own faith? There's probably more truths within your own faith that you, as you grow, you appreciate with new perspectives. And as we share those kinds of things, we enhance each other. And social media gives us an incredible opportunity to do that. We need to engage the young people, particularly in doing that. You may have heard of Tony Blair's Face to Faith program. He has a program in the high schools that's active in our area where they get young people studying another faith, another part of the world. And in that other part of the world, they have high school kids there studying our faiths and our part of the world. And once they start to get to know about the other faith, then they come in contact over Skype and they start having these discussions. And it's that faith to face, but it's those personal discussions that I think help us to really begin to understand. And so I thank the presenters tonight. They've given us some great challenges. It's up to each of us to figure out what we can do to put them into action in our own communities, in our own lives. It's just absolutely critical that we find ways to engage the grassroots, and the media gives us a whole array of great tools to do that. So thank you, and thank you to the presenters and the organizers of this great conference.
Thank you for giving your views here and talking about medias and policies international and various topics. So I think the effect of this event will be help our atheist brothers to come on to join the religion. So now my brother will invite here a person who will
وفي النهاية وضيف الشرف لهذه الحفلة التمس إلى سيادة الشيخ معالي الأستاذ الدكتور السيد عقيل حسيني المنور، خريج بجامعة أم القرى في سنة 1987 الميلادية، ووزير شؤون الدينية سابقا بجمهورية إندونيسيا، أستاذ الشريعة الإسلامية للدراسات العليا الشرعية في الجامعات الإسلامية الحكومية، وأعضاء لجنة التحكيم الدولية في الدول المختلفة العالمية. أنا ألتمس في سيادته فقد يتقدم مقالة رائعة ولكن موجزة. يمكن
بالإجازة يعني.
يمكن موجزة. لماذا
43 صفحة
43 صفحة لأنه رأيت أوراق كثيرة فلذا قلت يمكن موجزة. بارك الله، شكرا لكم السيد الدكتور عقيل حسيني المنور حفظه الله تعالى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، كتبت بحثا مطولا عن تجربة إندونيسيا حول هذا التعايش الديني. حينما كنت وزيرا 2000 إلى 2004 عشت مع هذا التعايش، لأن إندونيسيا، أريد أعرف إندونيسيا عبارة عن بلاد أو حكومة بحرية وجزرية. عدد الجزر إلى الآن استقراء الجديد 18,110 جزيرة. والمسافة من منطقة إلى آخر منطقة إندونيسيا يعني بالطائرة حول 11 ساعة، يعني أوسع من جاكرتا إلى جدة. هذه هي المساحة. وأنا أريد أن أختصر فأقول إن الإسلام دين ومبادئ له سياسته الداخلية والخارجية التي يعيش في ظلالها الناس جميعا، لا سيما وهي تركز في تعاملاتها على حفظ كرامة الإنسان والاحترام لحقوق المسلم وغيره. وهذه السياسة مبنية على العدالة والمساواة. قال الله تعالى: يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. وكذلك قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا فضل لعربي على عجمي ولا عجمي على عربي ولا أحمر على أسود ولا أسود على أحمر إلا بالتقوى. وكما جاء كذلك عن الخليفة الثاني سيدنا عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه أنه قال: متى استبعدتم الناس وقد ولدتهم أمهاتهم أحرارا. وقد ثبت كذلك إكرامه رضي الله عنه لذلك الشيخ الكبير، وكان يهوديا، حينما وجده يسأل الناس جعله راتبا. وهناك الكثير من الشواهد التي تدل على أن الإسلام هو دين التعايش السلمي بين الشعوب، وهو الذي يحث على حفظ كرامة الإنسان وأن يكرم أبناء الإنسانية بعضهم بعضا. قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: الناس بنو آدم وآدم من تراب. وفي أصل الفطرة أن الشعوب ليس بينها عداوة، وأن فطرة الناس السوية التي خلق عليها لا تخلق المشاكل أو التباعد بين الشعوب، لأنها نداء الوجدان إلى المحبة والراحة والسعادة التي لا تتم إلا بالتعايش السلمي بين الشعوب، إنما تأتي العداوة من طغيان الهوى. قال الله تعالى: يا داود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله. أما إذا بقي الإنسان على الفطرة فهو يحب التعايش السلمي، والفطرة كلها خير. لذلك يقول الحق سبحانه: فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. ويفسر هذه الفطرة الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام بقوله: كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. ولهذا الحديث دلالة عظيمة وحقيقة واقعة موجودة في أصل الإنسان، ألا وهي أن الإنسان إذا ترك لفطرته دون مؤثرات خارجية وثقافات تمنع عليه فإنه سيختار الطريق الذي يوصله إلى الله الذي خلقه وأوجده وأمره أن يعيش بسلام مع غيره من الناس دون فوارق أو تعديات. ولذلك علم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الأمة من هو المسلم الحقيقي ومن هو المؤمن بالله، فقال: المسلم من سلم المسلمون من لسانه ويده، والمؤمن من أمنه الناس على دمائهم وأموالهم. والآن نعيش في العصر الحاضر وهناك مصطلح معروف أي التعايش السلمي. يعتبر هذا المصطلح شعارا مطروحا على ساحة العلاقات الدولية بين الشعوب، وهدفا منشودا يسعى إليه، ومع أهميته المفهوم السائد لهذا المصطلح، فإن التعايش بين الأمم المختلفة الديانات أكثر خطورة من الأول، لا سيما إذا أقاموا في مجتمع واحد ودولة واحدة، إذ إن الاستقرار وبناء السلام بالداخل يأتي قبل الاستقرار وبناء السلام الخارجي، ومن ثم حرص كل مجتمع ودولة على التوصل إلى صيغة تضمن التعايش السلمي والبناء على بين أتباع الديانات المختلفة بها، سواء يهدي من الدين أو بفكر وضعي. فهناك قصور فهم الكثيرين من أبناء الإسلام لدينه وبروز محاولات هادفة تحت شعار التسامح الديني كإيجاد ديانة مشتركة، وملتقى الأديان كثيرا ما يفهم التسامح الديني خطأ، بأنه التقاء في كل شيء بين أتباع الديانات المختلفة، ونقيض التميز في الخصوصيات الدينية خدمة للاستقرار والتعاون الاجتماعيين. فكانت الحاجة ملحة إلى توضيح مفهوم إسلامي في هذا الخصوص، فنعقد هذا المؤتمر الدولي. وأقول مصطلح التعايش السلمي كشعار سياسي يعني البديل عن العلاقة العدائية بين الدول ذات النظم الاجتماعية المختلفة، ومع هذا ليس هناك أي مانع للتوسع في استخدامه في ساحة العلاقات الاجتماعية بين أتباع الديانات المختلفة، وبخاصة المقيمين في دولة واحدة. وإذا كان الأمر كذلك، فإن التعايش السلمي يمكن أن يشمل الأمور الآتية: التعايش بين أهل الملة الواحدة، التعايش بين أهل الملل المختلفة، التعايش بين الدول المختلفة سياسيا، والتعايش بين القوى الاجتماعية المختلفة. وبالرغم من إمكانية اشتمال المفهوم على ذلك، لكن يبقى المفهوم السائد الآن غالبا هو بين أهل الملل المختلفة والدول المتباينة. ومع ذلك هناك أسس ومعالم تصلح لكافة الأنواع، وبما أن البحث يتركز على التعايش في الإسلام كان لابد من التعريج إلى هذا المعنى. وهناك أدلة كثيرة من القرآن والسنة تبين معنى أو هذا التعايش المطلوب. وذكرت هنا من أن الحقوق من خلال هذا التعايش ذكرت 4. أولا الحرية، لأن الإنسان حر منذ الولادة إلى أن يموت. قرر الإنسان هذا المبدأ ووضع له الضمانات الكفيلة. والحرية أغلى شيء في حياة الناس، بها يملك الإنسان شخصيته ويثبت كيانه، وهي أكبر مظاهر الكرامة الإنسانية والطريق إلى الإيمان الصحيح والمسؤولية. ثانيا العدل، هذا معروف، قامت جميع الشرائع السماوية على العدل والقسط، فالعدالة شريعة كل الأنبياء والمرسلين، وفي الشريعة الخاتمة تتخذ صورة أكد. وبالعدالة قامت السماوات والأرض، وبها قامت الحياة الإنسانية، فكان كل تصرف الإنسان أن ينبني على هذا العدل. وفي محيط الوحدة الإنسانية كان العدل شعارها الدال عليها وسورها المحدد لها. وجب أن تكون الفروق الشخصية بمنأى عن محيط العدل يستوي فيه القوي والضعيف، والغني والفقير، والقريب والبعيد، والمسلم وغير المسلم. ثالثا التسامح، حول هذا المبدأ يحدث كلام كثير قد يضطرب معه المفهوم، فلا بد إذن من تحديد المفهوم حتى لا يحدث خلط بين التسامح الطيب وبين مجرد المجاملة أو النفاق الشنيع. رابعا الوفاء بالعهد، والوفاء بالعهد يشمل كل عهد معروف، وهو ضمان لبقاء أصل الثقة في التعاون بين الناس. يتهدم المجتمع وتنعدم الإنسانية عند فقدانها. لهذا تشدد الإسلام في هذا الموضوع بشكل لا يقبل التخفيف، لأنه قضية الثقة التي تضمن استمرار التعامل البناء. وهناك تجربة إندونيسية، تجربة إندونيسيا حول التعايش عبارة عن تحقيق وتطبيق أنواع الأخوة الثلاث. هناك أخوة الإسلامية أو الأخوة الإيمانية، ثانيا الأخوة الوطنية، يعني بين الإندونيسيين لا فرق بين دين وآخر، كما أنه لا فرق بين لغة وأخرى ولا جزيرة وأخرى ولا قبيلة وأخرى وهكذا. لأن عندنا يعني أكثر من 800 لغة. حينما عشت ودخلت إلى منطقة ما فهؤلاء يتكلمون بلغتهم وأنا لا أعرف ولا كلمة من هذه اللغة هذه. ثم الأخوة الإنسانية أو البشرية، وفي هذه الأخوة نستطيع أن نقول لا فرق بين إندونيسيين وأمريكيين وأوروبيين وكذلك والعرب والأفارقة وغيرهم، لأننا في أصل من أصل واحد من أب واحد وأم واحدة كما قلنا وذكرنا الآية القرآنية. ثانيا تطبيقا حقيقيا قوله سبحانه ما بعد الآية 10 من سورة الحجرات: إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. ذكر الله عز وجل في 11 وفي 12 هناك 6 أمور، يعني من عدم السخرية واللمس والنبس واجتناء بكثرة الظن والتجسس والغيبة إلى غير ذلك. وفي تجربتي يعني حول 4 سنين حينما كنت وزيرا للشؤون الدينية فتحت الحوار بين الأديان نبين فيه ميزة الإسلام في قيام التعايش السلمي بين الأديان، وكذلك الحوار بين الأديان في المؤسسات الدينية وغيرها. وجعلت أو فتحت مركزا لهذه الدراسة إلى الآن الحمد لله. ونجعل إن من يترأس هذه المؤسسة إن عدد من العلماء ورجال الدين لا شك أن لهم دور كبير في الحوار بين الأديان. نكتفي بهذا أو نقرأ صفحات أخرى؟
نقرأ نبذة من صفحات الإقرار.
نكتفي ونناقش هذا الموضوع إن كان بحاجة إليه وإلى. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
والله أعلم اختصار المقالة أصعب من كتابتها. اختصار المقالة أصعب من كتابتها، ولكن الشيخ وهو ماهر حزاق في الاختصار. بارك الله فيك. अगर किसी ने कोई सवाल करना हो فهو يريد يناقش कोई question Any question?
أولا يعني نعتذر أن الإخوة الذين تكلموا باللغة الإنجليزية لم يتسنى لنا متابعتهم لأن الترجمة غير متوفرة كانت إلا اللغة العربية.
صح.
ويؤسف بأن العربية باتت غريبة بين أبنائها وهي لغة القرآن. الحمد لله. ولكن من حيث العموم أنا أريد أن أشكر معالي الوزير على هذه الكلمات التي قالها وقضية المصطلحات التي ركز عليها، وموضوع المصطلحات وموضوع تعريفها وضبطها أهم شيء في أي عملية في الحوار. كثير من الأحيان نحن نطلق ألفاظا وألقابا ولا ندرك مدلولاتها ونضعها بعض الأحيان في غير موضعها. وسأذكر مثالا واحدا تفضل به معاليه، موضوع التسامح. كثيرون يتكلمون عن التسامح بين الناس. عندنا أنا من لبنان، ونحن عندنا في لبنان مسلمين ومسيحيين، وحياتنا بفضل الله تعالى من أجمل ما يكون، ما عندنا مشكلة. المشاكل تأتي بها السياسة ولا يأتي بها الدين. كثيرون يقولون نريد أن نعيش حياة متسامحة. التسامح يكون بين طرفين متخاصمين. عندما تؤذيني أسامحك. أما في الدولة، عندما نعيش في دولة هناك قوانين، هناك حقوق، هناك واجبات. الإسلام لم يتسامح مع الآخرين. الإسلام أعطى الآخرين حقوقا. عندما نقرأ كتاب الله عز وجل هناك حقوق للمسيحيين، هناك حقوق لليهود، هناك حقوق لكل إنسان يعيش في بيننا. عندما سئل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن المجوس وهم ليسوا أهل كتاب ماذا نفعل معهم؟ قال سنوا فيهم سنة أهل الكتاب، أي تعاملوا معهم كما تتعاملون مع أهل الكتاب. إذن هؤلاء مواطنون لهم حقوق وعليهم واجبات، فالعلاقة معهم ليست علاقة تسامح، علاقة حقوق وواجبات وقوانين. لذلك ضروري جدا موضوع المصطلحات أن تحرر وأن تضبط وأن يكون الكلام حولها واضحا. فجزاكم الله خيرا على هذا الكلام الطيب، وأعتذر والسلام عليكم.
بارك الله، شكرا لكم. وأخيرا ألتمس من سيادة الأستاذ المفتي محي الدين حفظه الله، فقد يجلس بيننا، فقد يتفضل بيننا، أهلا سهلا مرحبا، ولكن تفضلت أخيرا وختامه مسك، أن يدعو من الله تقدست أسماؤه
الدنيا والآخرة والفوز بالجنة والنصر من النار. اللهم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا حنان يا منان يا قديم الإحسان يا رحمن يا رحيم يا كريم يا كريم يا رب العالمين या अरहम अर्राहिमीन। ऐ अल्लाह, दुनिया आलम के इंसानों को बेहतरी पर, खैर पर तू जमा फरमा दे। ऐ अल्लाह, सारी दुनिया से शर और फितने को ख़त्म फरमा दे। ऐ अल्लाह, सारी दुनिया में एक इत्तेहाद जो एक दूसरों के लिए बेहतर हो, मुआशरा के लिए, हमारी नस्लों के लिए, हमारी औलादों के लिए, तमाम दुनिया के इंसान जो जिससे चैन और सुकून की ज़िंदगी गुजार सकें। ऐ अल्लाह, अपने अपने मिजाज और ख़यालात के मुताबिक ज़िंदगी बसर करे। ऐ अल्लाह, सारी दुनिया में ऐसी फ़िज़ा को कैम फरमा दे। या हन्नान या मन्नान या कदीम अल-एहसान या अल्लाह इन्नका अला कुल्ली शैइन क़दीर। ऐ अल्लाह, दुनिया के वसाइल व असबाब तो हम देख रहे हैं कि जो लोग हमसे सुकून और चैन छीनना चाहते हैं, या अल्लाह, बहुत थोड़े से हो करके, ऐ अल्लाह, उनकी हरकत इतनी बढ़ चुकी हैं जो हमारी क़ुव्वतों से हमें ज़्यादा नज़र आ रही हैं। ऐ अल्लाह, तू अपनी कुदरत से उनकी क़ुव्वतों को, उनके इरादों को, उनकी कोशिशों को बर्बाद कर दे, नाकाम बना दे, जो सारी दुनिया के इंसानों के अमन और सुकून को बर्बाद करना चाहते हैं। ऐ अल्लाह, दुनिया आलम में नेकी के काम करने वालों को, भलाई की तरफ बुलाने वालों को, खैर की तरफ आवाज़ देने वालों को, जहाँ जहाँ भी ये काम खैर का हो रहा है, भलाई को हो रहा है, इंसानियत को हो रहा है, एक दूसरे के इत्तेहाद के लिए हो रहा है, अल्लाह, तमाम दुनिया के इंसानों को भलाई और खैर पे जमा फरमा दे। ऐ अल्लाह, सारी दुनिया के इंसानों को खैर और भलाई पे जमा फरमा दे। ऐ अल्लाह, सारी दुनिया को शर और बदी से बचा ले।
ऐ अल्लाह सारी दुनिया के इंसानों को शर और बदी से बचा ले। ऐ अल्लाह बदी और शर के बुरे अंजामों से बचा ले और हमेशा के बुरे अंजाम से बचा ले। ऐ अल्लाह सारी दुनिया के इंसानों को वो अक़ल अता फरमा, वो फ़हम अता फरमा, वो सलीम अता फरमा कि जो अपने सही रास्ते पर, जो इंसानियत के लिए सही रास्ते हैं, ऐ अल्लाह उन सही रास्तों पर वो चलने वाले बन जाएं, सही रास्ता को समझने वाले बन जाएं, सही तुरुक पर ऐ अल्लाह वो कोशिश करने वाले बन जाएं और सही और बेहतर और खैर की आवाज़ों को और खैर और भलाई की दावतों को या अल्लाह इंसानों के दिलों को खोल दो, वो कबूल करने वाले बन जाएं। सल्लल्लाहु ताला अला खैर खल्क़िही मुहम्मदिन व अला आलिही व सहाबी अजमाइन आमीन बिरहमतिक।
बारकल्लाह, शुक्रान लकुम।